those things to which we aspire, right? So I think the key message is one, we're not just doing one thing. So we are not just developing the workforce, or we are not just training people in critical shortage areas, or we are not just involved in narrow certifications of certain professions. We are doing a big, broad mission in every community in Texas. And that's I think that's the number one priority, that we've got to keep in front of the commission and the legislature always, that we're doing a lot of different things in the community, and we need to be funded to do all of those things, both those things that are sort of tactical priorities, but also the things that are these ongoing strategic structural programs that we have that always need to be there to be able to educate folks in Texas. So one of the things that TCCTA has worked on, for more than a decade, and in a very direct way, is telling the legislature honestly that they want to be careful not to establish a funding mechanisms that creates incentives that might be detrimental to our rigor. And that's not code, but just to say it as plainly as possible. Don't pay us for A's so that everybody gets an A. Or don't pay us for A's, and then when we, the faculty, exercise our rigor because that's our professional ethic to do so, our institutions suffer because everybody's not getting it. What we want is for people to be educated. And part of that is the accountability of grading. And if you incentivize just a certain kind of success so that the institutions are pushed toward making that easier to be able to get the necessary funding that they need to get, it could potentially be a threat to our rigor. So we've been quite plain and quite public about that message in interim hearings and legislative hearings during legislative sessions on specific bills. We're not changing that pattern with regard to this commission. We're going to be in there both in the steering committee, in the commission, and with the legislature in 2023, carrying that same critical message, which is we have to be able to sustain rigor and not have to make a Hobson's choice between having the funds we need to teach people and executing the rigor that we need to really teach people. We have to have both those things. Well, I think the first thing is think about what you're doing. And we say that a lot. You know, one of the things we talk about with the faculty is the very fabric of what any of us are doing when we're talking about community colleges is what are the community colleges doing? And that's about what the faculty is doing. It's about what people are doing in their classrooms every single day. And those are the fundamental building blocks of our argument for community colleges. So I think there's sort of a self-identification that is really necessary. If you're a faculty member, what are you doing and how are you teaching and how are you going about your job? And then how are you doing that in your department with your peers? And then if you're an administrator, what does that look like and how are you interfacing with those sort of bigger questions of the college running as a whole and how you're doing it? Being able to articulate what you're up to and being confident in the fact that you're executing it is really important. And I think that in a very particular way, if you're a faculty member who has standards, and we talked about rigor, if you're being able to really articulate what those standards are and why they're important. Because at the end of the day, this funding mechanism, again, is going to have to work for a real result. And that real result is quality education, certificates that mean things, degrees that mean things. And we need to be able to really articulate why we think the quality of what we do and the rigor of what we do is good now and is important to maintain in any funding structure. So I would say that's the first thing you do. The second thing you do is communicate that message. So talk amongst yourselves, talk in your faculty senates, talk in your cohorts, come and engage with TCCTA in our many events and talk with each other about it and be in the discussion, and then go out and talk to your legislators and policymakers. Talk to commission members, and we will be busy telling you who those people are and how to do it once we get the commission up and running. But be thoughtful about how you choose to articulate it, and then go do it. And there are going to be a lot of chances to do that between now and the end of the 2023 legislative session. Talking to each other, and you're also talking to your legislators at the same time, and keeping them up to date, and saying in March of 2022, you know, the commission's met a couple of times and we really think they're on the right track, just want to let you know. Or the commission's met and we are a little bit concerned about how deep a dive they're going to do in this thing and whether they're really considering all of what we think is the relevant data. We're going to keep pushing them and we'll let you know how that works out. Or the commission has met and they've said a bunch of stuff with which we 100% disagree. We think they're on the wrong track. You don't want to be bringing that to folks 2 hours before a vote. You want to be bringing it to them a year before the vote. And so that's part of what we're going to be working with our membership to do, is be engaged in an ongoing analysis and review of what the commission's up to, and then communicating that with your local legislative officials so that the commission will be met with the proper accolades or the proper skepticism, depending on the quality of its work.
Sure. So I would say that a good way that a faculty member at a college could get engaged would be to perhaps reach out to their TCCTA liaison or representative on campus, finding someone who might be already engaged here at the association and working with the steering committee and talking through them, or their own president. All of our presidents are at least aware, and some are very much engaged in the work of the commission and the steering committee. So I would strongly encourage those that have strong thoughts to reach out to their college leadership to see what degree, you know, they can have some ground up input, maybe transmitted through the president or themselves.
Thanks for joining us for this second in a series. Please keep an eye out for future videos. Join us for those and look for ways to get involved in this important work. Thanks for being with us.